What's up, everybody? Nick Powell's publisher of 1851franchise.com and CEO of the Growth Club. Oftentimes we get asked, what is this franchise assessment that we do on behalf of the franchisor when we're looking at franchise viability? We have to understand what the business opportunity is in order to get to winning. And so we started doing these in-depth research pieces as a part of understanding how the business works. And so I'm going to show you an example of one here so that you can see just how much we go through as a part of the process. I'll give you a little bit of insight into each of these. So our definition of winning. We have to define what we think winning is and articulate back what you're saying winning is. And so if you say, I want 10 units or 25 units, we have to describe this back to you and say, are we aligned with what winning looks like? We do this so that we can be on the same page. If you know anything about Mainland, which is our marketing agency, or 1851 franchise, then you understand that we're trying to build these long-term lasting relationships. And so what we realize is we have to understand the business in a different way than other consultancies do. Now, I'm going to share my screen with you. If another consultancy wants to take this agenda and start building these out, go for it. This is a 100-ish page viability study. So what do? Part one, we go through the definition of winning. What is winning? Who's our current franchisees? What's our development metrics? What are our team KPIs? How are we judging the success of this? We get into the candidate. Who are we actually getting in front of? How are they looking at brands? How many of them are there? Are we going after accountants? Are we going after people that are bird lovers? Like when you start breaking down who's the persona or avatar of our candidates, now we can start figuring out how we're going to get in front of them. We look at how the candidate sees you. We look at the current footprint, your website, your positioning, consumer and franchise. I think both are deeply important to the process. Look at the competitive landscape. We do these franchise deep dives. If you've been on 1851franchise.com, you can see these. We're doing the starting research on behalf of the franchise buyer so that they understand what are they looking at in the brands. But we do this on behalf of our franchisors too, to say, here's what your competition is saying so that you know how you're going to be different. We look deeply at the FDD, what's going to happen from a roadblock standpoint. Now that we've understood the candidate and how they see you, now we need to go find these franchisees. So where are they? What are they reading? How are they absorbing information? What information do they need? What content do they need? So we create a game plan on that. Now that we've built out all the game plan, now we can start budgeting to win. And we look backwards at what is your historical data, and then what are we seeing from a data standpoint across all the brands that we work with. So now we can start saying, here's how much we should spend, and here's how we should spend it. Now that we're spending it, we got to measure how's the impact on the funnel, and we got to build predictability in the funnel. I say this often, but I hate when businesses get on the phone and say, hey, let us tell you what happened last week. No, let's start thinking about what's going to happen next week. It starts building a little bit of predictability so that now we can make some decisions on where we're going to spend. Now that we've built up our funnel and leads are starting to come in, how do we manage them? Where are we going to spend to keep them going? Why do leads fall off? What's our CRM tools? How are we building drip campaigns? What's the architecture look like? How do we celebrate validation? What happens when they get to discovery day? What happens after they sign? Do we have any financing in place to help them scale or to help them get onboarded? Now we get to onboarding the franchisee. What happens from signing to opening? What happens at the grand opening? A huge opportunity for the franchisor to lift up the business. What's the fall off point? When does the honeymoon end? Is it 90 days? Is it 60 days? Is it day one? So that we understand there's going to be a roadblock for that business operator. How do we get our franchisees to expand? Who are franchisees worth celebrating, and how are we going to celebrate them? And then our action plan to win. I share this because this ends up being what we call a 2-year roadmap into how are we going to actually get to winning. And when successful, we continue to point back to this assessment of saying, here are the things that we said we wanted to do. How does this work into our checklist of things that we want to accomplish? So I wanted to share that with you so that you can understand how deep we have to look at the business in order to get you up and running to win. It's not just saying, what's your story? And let's go do PR. That's not how this works. It has to be deeper than that if we're actually going to win at franchising, because at Growth Club, we feel everybody can win at franchising.